Welcome to Fueling Conversations, a sports nutrition education network podcast with Dr. James Fleming. This episode kicks off something special, a three-part series following one man's extraordinary journey into the extremes of endurance. Meet Michael Collins, a marathon runner turned ultra-endurance adventurer, taking on the Namibia 250 Ultramarathon. That's 250 kilometres across the desert, 5 days, self-supported, carrying every calorie, every piece of kit, and every ounce of determination. We'll also follow Michael as he looks ahead to his next challenge, the legendary Marathon des Sables, and reflect on what these races reveal about human endurance, mindset, and survival. So lace up, tune in, and join us as we go beyond the wall, across the dunes, and into the mind of an ultra-endurance runner.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Fueling Conversations podcast. Today's a bit of a special one. We've got Michael Collins with us, who is doing a three-parter. So we're going to delve straight into this. He's an ultra-endurance athlete, and it'll all become clear as we go through. So yeah, Michael, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Do you want to give us a bit of an introduction into what you're up to and how we got to this point here today?
Yeah, so on Thursday I'm heading down to Namibia because on Monday I'm starting a 5-day, 250 kilometre self-supported ultramarathon across the desert.
Okay, right. So, big question. Why?
Why? Yeah. Aside from being semi-barking mad, which most endurance runners are, ultra running, endurance running, marathon running has always been my life. I've been doing it since I was in my early 20s. I've had a reasonable amount of success on the road as a marathon runner. I reached the point a few years ago where I was starting to look for something a little bit different, both because age was starting to slow me down a little bit. I was still turning out good times, but not great times. And there's something quite cookie-cuttery about major city races. As much as you love the vibe and the crowd and things, it's very samey. So it was really looking to, okay, what's a new challenge that I can move into that's going to push me somewhere different as well, where maybe the absolute pace isn't quite the defining factor. It just maybe gets me doing something a little bit new, but within a sphere that I'm good at.
I love that. Every ultra-endurance athlete I've ever spoken to, they're always slightly quirky, let's say. So can we just talk through, they're quite a big transition now. How many marathons have you actually done? Can you give us a bit of context around kind of time? So you say your times are getting slower, and then we will delve into the big jump between a marathon, being a good marathon runner, and an ultra-endurance event.
Yeah. So I've done 52 marathons, with a personal best of 2 hours 37, which I set back in 2019. Most recent I did was London this year, which was a 2:45. So that's a little bit of the difference that I've dropped out, that I've got to. But you're right in terms of actually as a quirkiness and things. I think for me, it's being so comfortable on your own, because you have to be. It's so different to team sports. You have to be willing to do that, and that is such a niche population.
Can you talk us through that aspect then? Because can you give us a little bit of information around the Namib 250 about, you said self-sufficiency. Can you talk us through how many people are going to be there?
Yeah.
And kind of what you've done to navigate that kind of time on your own?
So it's a total race entry field of 50. Looking at years gone by, historically it's only about a 50 to 60% completion rate as well. So obviously 40 people over 250 kilometres, you're going to be very, very, very spaced out. So the reality is it's going to be almost certainly 25, 26, 27, 28, 30 hours worth of running on your own.
Temperatures, humidity?
So low humidity as we're in the desert, so 15-20%ish. Temperatures, nighttime temperatures 12, peaking up to low mid-40s during the day. First 3 days are 7:38 a.m. start, so it'll be not so hot. The fourth day is a midday start, so it's going to be absolutely scorching. And then the last day, which we might talk about a little bit later on in a bit more detail anyway, is the early morning but going through the day. So it's managing that heat.
And can you talk us through the distances, just that 5-day split, and then we'll delve into the logistics, self-sufficiency, that kind of space?
Sure, yeah. So the first 2 days are much the same. They're 50 kilometres.
Just 50.
Just 50. So a shade over a marathon. Day 3 is a marathon, so it's 42. Day 4, which is the short day, is 22. So that's the one, as I said, with the midday start. And then day 5 is 92. which is very unusual for these events, where most of the time the long day is day 3 or day 4 in the middle. This is rare and evil.
We'll get into that space because the 3-parter of this is we're talking pre-Namibia, very soon. Then we're going to talk post-Namibia, hopefully celebrating with a nice medal around your neck. And then we're also going to talk about post-marathon des Sables, which we'll get to because he's obviously crazy. He's doing back-to-back probably the biggest ultra endurance events in 6 months. So can you talk us through the self-sufficiency and then how nutrition plays into this? Because I remember I got a bit lucky because obviously on the MSc we've always had a bit of coursework associated with normally the MDS, and I remember you saying I'm doing Namibia 250. I was like, what's that?
Yes.
And then me being kind of crafty and having no money in academia, I was like, can you do a talk for us, Michael? And then it's led on to obviously this whole kind of multidisciplinary support. So can you delve into that?
Absolutely, yes. So with this race, everything that I want or need to have with me, so clothing, mandatory equipment and food, I've got to carry. So that's the self-sufficiency element. So aside from water checkpoints, which are around about every 10k through the race, everything else I've got to carry with me. So obviously from the nutrition perspective, it's trying to fuel myself as much as I can to run that distance, to keep myself running that distance, and to do it in a way that is manageable weight-wise. Because obviously I could carry all the calories that I needed, plus more. I could carry all the nice tasty foods that I wanted, but I'm then going to be having 20-30 kilos on my back.
And is there a stipulation on minimum expected calories? Is there any? How do they manage, people not going in and just basically dying with not enough food?
So the minimum requirement is 2,000 a day, which is obviously way below what you'd need to do much more than just exist, let alone do that. They do check it, they're very rigorous with it. So that's what I have to have, but obviously the advice that I've taken is to supplement that quite significantly.
And then I guess just to add a little bit of more nuance to this, obviously not many people, 50 people have applied for this crazy event. Can you give us a bit about your dietary preferences too, and how that's been a challenge or how we've had to navigate that as a team?
So as a vegan athlete, it definitely does create a lot more certainly some more challenges as well. There's a bit less bang for your buck in terms of a lot of the really calorie dense things. I know of people on MDS doing things like beef jerky and those kind of things, which is such an easy win, but obviously not an option for me. So that's probably the biggest consideration that we've had to look at from a nutrition perspective. Also, obviously, it's a bit of variety. A lot of variety, taste. It's a psychology element of food as well that we've looked at as well, that it's 5 days, you've not got much else going on. If you need to be looking forward to having something to eat.
So can you talk us through where we've got, I know we're still kind of doing final last minute tweaks, but can you talk us through like a typical day, your plan anyway, your first plan A, let's say, I know we've got B and C in there too, but what does a breakfast look like on, let's say, your marathon day, and how are you going to try and navigate it with real food so that kind of the audience understand that?
Yeah, so we're doing a porridge-based breakfast. We've got 3 different flavours that I'm going to be cycling through on the 3 days. So there's a strawberry one, a blueberry one, and a chocolate one, so we can rotate. It's still the basic thing of bang for your buck, really good weight to carb ratio, but a little bit of rotation through there, and then supplemented with some electrolytes and carb mixes as well. Nice. That we're doing as a pre-race breakfast each day. And there's obviously a practicality element of that as well. We get access to hot water, but that's it. So no actual cooking options. So I don't want to be lugging stoves or anything. With these, are just pour the hot water in, leave it for 5 minutes, and you're good to go.
And these are rehydrated meals, some of these?
Exactly that, yes.
And so what's your, I know we were saying it's quite funny when you say, I've got to have food that makes me feel good, but can you talk us through one of these beautiful rehydrated meals that's going to make you feel good?
So the rehydrated porridges for breakfast they look more normal and they sort of are more normal, which is kind of basic porridge oats with a bunch of nice tasty stuff in. It's the dinner options which are sort of pastas or rice, dals and lentils that are all rehydrated, which come in these sort of sealed, heat-proof bags. So you rip the top off, you pour the hot water in, you leave it for about 20 minutes to sort of stew and cook, and it is what it is. Are they great? No. Are they terrible? No. They're fine.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing you'd probably imagine if you were a student and cooking for yourself. So it does the job in terms of calorie stuff. But that's probably the one I'm approaching more from we're eating this for a reason.
Yeah.
And they've got a few other little bits and bobs to supplement.
And I think it's an interesting thing that I was never exposed to maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I thought, well, like you say, there's fuel for mood and those aspects, but there's a massive clash here with weight to preference sometimes, and you have to see this as like a mission, don't you, to a degree?
Exactly,
And obviously we're trying to work on like those behavioural nudges of, before the 90k one, which we're going to talk about later, what is it going to be your go-to to give you that kind of mental pick-me-up?
Yes.
Have we got anything in there that can, change the taste profile of foods, that kind of thing? Can you talk us through where you're set with the weight of your bag, and relative to your body weight, if you don't mind disclosing, because I think it's important for the audience to understand that, you carrying 20k to make sure you get closer to energy balance, which is impossible realistically, is going to be such a physical drain on you that there has to be a kind of a give and take on this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So kit-wise, with pack and mandatory kit equipment, which is sleeping bag, medical supplies, a couple of the items I've thrown in as we've got to have a fleece or something warm weather for the evenings, a pair of trousers as well for that, inflatable pillow. That gets me to 3.5 kilos. We're looking at about 4.5, maybe 5 as a starting weight of food. Obviously, knowing that it's going to be going down every single day, but we reckon we get it down to 4.5.
Nice.
So then that will be that's 8, and then water weight is the only other thing. So if we're looking to leave each checkpoint with 1.5 litres, which is 2 front-loaded pouches, that gets me up to 9.
And what have you been doing to both nutritionally and otherwise to prepare for the MDS? Namibia 250, we're ahead of ourselves.
Yes.
Go on.
So nutritionally wise, a lot of the focus has been really training the gut to eat on the go.
Nice.
So coming from a marathon background where really all you're taking on mid-races is a few gels, that's it, and it doesn't really matter what on earth happens afterwards, to just making sure the gut is really comfortable eating on the go. The plan is going to be taking something on board around about every 10k, which breaks down to about every hour. And that's something that I'm comfortable tolerating, but obviously from the nutrition side that we've looked at, that is doing the best we can to replace the amount of burned energy in a sustainable way.
And I know that's been quite a challenge, because I feel like I've been kind of the bad cop, right? We've got good cop, which is Michelle. I can't take all the credit here, because we've had Michelle and Abby doing some great work with you from a student perspective, but I've been bad cop saying, Michael, get on the treadmill and eat. Eat.
That's when you need that bad cop.
But it's the element of, and it's good you've got your eyes wide open, but I think there's an element of, this is going to be a great challenge. Psychologically, I can be prepared for this. Physically, I can be prepared for this. But actually, it's that element of, you need the fuel.
Yes.
You need to have at least, there's a minimum acceptable threshold probably here. And this is why it's a 3-parter, because I'm hoping, touch wood, everything goes perfectly. But inevitably, we're going to have some real learnings from this that we can take into the next one.
Yes.
And everyone, I'm not saying yourself is anything unique about yourself, everyone has their kind of hang-ups with nutrition, and you've done 50 marathons, right? And done them well. So there's been, it's hard to change behaviours over a short period. Yeah. So I think we're in a really strong position. But
what we've done to support that is Michelle's put some really good time into actually mapping out a day-by-day nutrition
I love that.
document. So I've got a little A5 laminated piece of paper that just tells me what to eat and when. So A, I haven't got to think about it
love that.
when I'm tired and stupid. And B, it's that check and balance that, like, this is the plan, stick to the plan.
And that's exactly it, isn't it? We want to try and minimise the noise that's associated with nutrition, so you can focus on the other stuff. And can we touch a little bit on that other stuff, because you're in 40 degrees heat.
Yeah.
So how are we mitigating burns? We're in sand dunes, right?
Yes.
So how are we mitigating blisters? Yeah. And how are we managing that pain aspect? You're going to be in discomfort, let's say, maybe not pain. And then also, how are we getting around that logistical stuff that can sometimes take away from your appetite or take away from that drive to eat?
So from a heat perspective overall, maybe we'll start with that. Obviously, really fortunate here at St Mary's to have access to a heat chamber. So we've got a great team George and Tom leading on that, who've been able to give me plenty of sessions in that. So we've been able to simulate those conditions, heat and humidity wise. So we've seen the adaptations in terms of significantly increased sweat rate is the primary one, but we've seen those physiological responses. So that gets me into a really good spot from just an overall heat perspective. You mentioned sand. The Namibia race isn't quite as sandy as Marathon des Sables, but there's sandy sections. We've got some really cool shoe innovations. So normal pair of trail running shoes with a pair of sand gaiters that fits over the top. I went to a cobbler to get Velcro actually stitched onto the outside of the shoe. So the piece of Velcro runs around the outside, all the way outside here. So we put the gaiters on the top, Velcro them down, and they come up to about here.
Nice.
So that does the best it can for sand. The key reminder for me is going to be, obviously that prevention is better than cure idea. So being really mindful that if you are feeling your feet rubbing, even midway through, stopping for 5 minutes is a pain, but it's better than pushing on and saying I'll deal with this at the end, because at the end that could be a very bloody foot.
I've seen some horrible pictures of this.
Yes.
Grim.
I've got a couple of really good go-to products.
Yeah.
I've got like an anti-blister powder. It kind of looks like talcum powder, but I put it in my socks at the beginning of each day, and it's absorbed sweat. It just helps with a bit of an anti-chafe. There's a really good product called Gurney Goo as well.
Sounds
which
fun.
is delightful name. It's a bit like Vaseline, but it's not Vaseline, but it's that idea of sort of just breathable lubrication for the feet, because Vaseline is terrible things to run as my feet anyway, that sort of almost that sort of almost sweat within the Vaseline.
Okay.
But this stuff is good, it's a little bit breathable. So I've used that before. That as a combination works.
Nice.
Like in the morning before a race, before stage, obviously after you've had a chance to just washing and showering is obviously out of the options here, but some kind of a little bit of just some water just to clean your feet, dry them, and then repeat that process.
And on that basis, if you kind of, I suppose, touching on the sleep conditions and shared, because you're going to then, I'm assuming that part of that's going to be really lovely, because you're going to be with the other competitors that have got through the stage, so I feel like it'll almost be a celebration.
There should be some good camaraderie in there.
But you all smell, obviously you've identified, and there'll be options. For some people will use the water to clean themselves, some will be using it purely for hydration and food. Can you just talk us through what the living conditions might be like?
Yeah, so it's a shared tent, so there's 2 people per tent. What you do or how you have that set up is entirely up to you. The organisers provide what they describe as a very thin ground mat. I've made the decision to take a very lightweight blow-up camping mattress.
Nice.
It's only 220 grams, but it cost an absolute fortune, but I think it's worth it because I value into rest.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's worth it as a sacrifice for weight, and the same thing with a little inflatable pillow, because again, I think actually valuing rest and recovery, I think it's a false economy not to.
And you're investing in this, right? Like the people that we're going to talk about, for those that want to do these elements, there's a financial burden associated with these events. You're talking thousands of pounds, aren't you?
You are.
So you putting a bit more into
sleep,
100%, 100%.
Obviously, I can't control who's in that tent with me. If they're snoring all night long, then they're going to get elbow to the head. 100%. I've got some little sort of wax earplugs that I will take with me. I hate sleeping in sleeping masks, but I will take the earplugs with me.
Yeah, nice.
It's 5 grams, but I think it's worth it.
And are you going to be documenting it? Have you included the weight of a phone, or have you thought about that yet?
So I'm not taking a phone. I'm not taking a camera. I briefly debated it, but for me the weight is not worth it. They have a good filming and photography crew for the race. They've got on the ground people. They've got drones. I think that they're going to capture everything better than I will as well. And I just don't want to justify the weight.
We'll share some of those pictures in part 2 for sure.
Exactly.
I guess, just conscious of time, we want to keep these quite kind of snappy, but can you talk us through what happens next? Because it's very rare you meet someone that's even done one of these events, let alone meeting someone on your doorstep at work who's doing this event and then taking on the Marathon des Sables. So can you talk us through the timelines of when you finish Namibia, when the Marathon des Sables is, and then also kind of what's the thought process behind that, because they are similar, right?
They are very similar, yes. So I'll be back from Namibia on the 25th of November. Marathon des Sables starts on the 13th of April. So we've got a few months in the middle, but not a massive amount of time. So it'll obviously be a case of it's capturing those learnings as soon as we get back. So what went well, what we can learn, what we can improve from, what went badly, and feeding that into our next plan. That will obviously affect nutrition, it'll affect heat conditioning, equipment, anything like that. I'll then be obviously having a little bit of an off period just to focus on recovery. Training blocks will then probably more start known at the beginning of January, maybe sort of straight after Christmas, building up for Morocco.
And was part of you thinking about doing the London Marathon after the marathon?
Yeah, so the London Marathon is 10 days or 8 days after I get back from Morocco. I have an entry because obviously I qualify on time for that. Whether I choose to take it up, whether I can get around in anything other than a hobble, well, TBC. But my approach with London is I will continue to milk it as long as I get time qualification entries, because at some point I'll become old, fat and slow and won't be able to.
Yeah, I feel your pain. So if we just talk through, can you just talk about some of the nuances regarding Namibia 250 and the Marathon des Sables? What is the reason why for doing both? Because some people might do one in their lifetime. Yes. This is obviously a hugely growing space, the ultra endurance space, and a lot of people have probably heard of the Marathon des Sables because it's the one.
Indeed.
Right, and there's 1,000 people at that event rather than 50 at Namibia.
So I mean, you're right. It's odd to do them so close together, but next year is the 40th year of MDS, so it's quite a special year for them as an organizer. I mean, I did the 40th edition of London, and again, it was quite nice to do those sort of showcase ones. I mean, if I come the 50th one, who knows what will be going on? I thought that for me was a kind of a special thing, and you'll find this with the running community. We are guilty of it. You get caught up in the excitement. You've booked onto one race, and then your mind starts running. It's like, what else do I want to do? And I knew that the entries window was coming up pretty soon, so
Why not?
Life is for living. Just get out and do these things. At the end of the day, if you're fortunate enough to be able to do it, just do them, because who knows what will happen in a year's time.
Yeah, I love that. And I guess, like, you're right. When are you better prepped to do it?
And that as well. I'll have some of the heat tolerance will still carry on. I'll have it relatively fresh in my mind. What
I'm looking forward to is on part 3 saying, "So Michael, what's next?"
Yeah, exactly.
And then I don't think there's an event created yet, but I'm sure there's like, let's not start on that one yet. So just to kind of finish up on this one, I think we haven't quite touched on the important factor, which is you run a fast marathon. How fast are we actually going to be doing this work at? Because have you accounted for, you're a good marathon runner, which is running at relatively fast speeds.
Yeah.
And now you're going to be plodding, like you said. What does that look like?
I've definitely got better at it. I mean, so for context, the course record for this works out at about 10 kilometres an hour, which is pretty slow. Because it's a little bit more than that, in as much as you're stopping at checkpoints where the clock doesn't stop. So 10.5 kilometres an hour wins you this race.
And when you're running the marathon, you're going at about
15.5.
Okay, fine. And there is accepted part that you'll be walking large aspects of this.
I'm hoping not to walk large. I expect to walk some, like sandy sections where it actually becomes a false economy to try and run through. There's not much in terms of terrain variation, but there will be some short, steep sections where, again, it's actually counterproductive to try and run. And it's also, those are times to take on fuel and food as well, when you're not running as well. So I would hope to run, my intention is to run as much as I can.
And you're navigating. My big concern about this is I can't read a map. But so you've got a compass, and you've got, or how's it marked up?
We do have to carry a compass. There is a small little race book, which essentially gives 5 little maps of each day. The course itself is also flagged.
Okay.
And we've got can navigate the map on Garmin as well.
Nice. So it's not like the Marathon des Sables when you've got a camel chasing you.
No, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, the navigation works well on this. Actually, you get a little vibration when you think you're off course.
Oh, that's nice. So it's not actually a stressor. You're okay.
It should be not too stressful. No. I mean, the key rule is just always follow the marked course first, beyond anything else. But you've got that as a backup.
Love that.
Take some of the stress out of it. But there will be points, I'm sure, where you are stressed about where you are, especially if you're one of the front runners as well. We haven't got the footprints to follow.
And although I'm not in psychology, I want to just ask the question of, and maybe you don't want to share this necessarily, when you're I don't know, day 5, you're about to hit that 90k day, and let's say you're feeling a bit tired and broken. What is it that's going to make you go, let's get this done?
So I think there's a few things. One, and this is one of the privilege of being a reasonably good runner, is the odds are there's a fair few people slower than you who is going to take them longer to get it done. Mm-hmm. There's also the sooner I start and the faster I run, the sooner I finish.
Yeah, fair.
Which is a good thing. And just compartmentalising it. And part of that is drawing on other races that I've done of similar and longer distance, knowing that I've done it before. Okay, I haven't done a 90k day after doing 4 days, but I've done 90, 100 plus k days. Now I've done them well. It's breaking it down. I mean, we've got 9 checkpoints on that day, so actually it's not 90k, it's run to a checkpoint.
Yeah, nice.
And it's run to another checkpoint, and then it's okay, now I have something to eat, or it's this, or it's that. It's making it manageable chunks.
And what are we going to have when we finish and we're completed? Do they put on food at the end? Surely.
They do put on something at the end. They haven't said what. We also get access to our overall kit at the end.
Nice.
So anything I want to put in that.
What are we going for?
Well, so it's still got to be able to last like 6 days in the desert. So I mean, what I want at that point of time is just like fresh fruit and vegetables.
Yeah, fair.
Firstly, because I'm not having that. I would probably cut off my left arm for some Marmite.
Oh.
Never say no to a good bagel. That's kind.
Come on, hit me something better than Marmite and a bagel, Michael. You just ran 250k in the middle of Namibia.
I wouldn't say no to a vegan pizza.
Yeah, okay,
Not
nice.
gonna lie.
Nice.
Really good, good falafel wrap.
Okay, yeah.
Something like a little bit crunchy texture.
Oh, you want to say like a dirty burger or like some chocolate, no?
Well, chocolate could be an option. Yeah, I could go some chocolate. I could put some chocolate in the bag and might properly melt.
That's the problem. You'll be good. You can celebrate you can have some downtime afterwards before we get going for the next one.
Absolutely, yeah.
Love that.
So I think it'll definitely be a case of whatever that evening meal is, I think you just eat it because you're going to be so spent and hungry. And I think one of the things would be like really nice like smoothies and fruit juice. So they're going to be craving just fresh and vitamins.
And how long are you thereafter once you're finished? Where?
So that last stage finishes at some point on Friday night, depending on how quick you are. The Saturday is travel back to Windhoek, and then Sunday early afternoon I've got a flight from Windhoek to Johannesburg, and then Sunday night is Johannesburg back to London.
Oh wow, not much time to.
No.
Back to work Monday.
I just want to get Tuesday.
Blimey.
I'm always of the after race. I just want to get back.
Yeah, fair. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you and nervous for you in equal measure. I think it's going to be such a good story. Really pleased that we've been able to, you've been so open to the students, being able to help you with this. Super excited to hear what happens next. And for us to take the learnings, right? What a great opportunity then that we hopefully come back with a nice medal around your neck, discussing all that vegan pizza, which doesn't really excite me, but I'm sure it does you. And then going at it for the MDS, which like you say, what an event that'll be.
Exactly.
1,000 people, 40th year, like I said, and you've done.
It might be as ready as I'm ever going to be.
I mean, normally it's the other way around. Surely this feels even harder than the MDS, but I'm sure I might be doing that at this service.
I think in some ways it will be the lack of participants. Yeah. I think in some ways the terrain is going to be more challenging. Obviously that long day at the end is another factor.
So I'd like to finish with a few quick fire bits. So can you just tell us of food? I mean, I'm feeling this might be a bit dry based on your bagel and Marmite answer, but one food you can't live without.
Yeah, it is Marmite and coffee.
Okay, fine.
Can't live without coffee.
Okay, fair. I can get rid of the coffee.
Yeah.
Apple pie or apple crumble?
Crumble.
With ice cream or that's a vegan, not a vegan?
Yeah, I can do a vegan ice cream.
Vegan ice cream's alright.
I can do a vegan vanilla ice cream.
Or yogurt?
I take ice cream over.
Or custard? Bit of custard?
Vegan custard is great. It just doesn't work. Hot apple crumble.
Look, we've got a crumble station in the ref, and I don't like the ref much. I'll probably lose my job for saying that, but there's a crumble station. When we finish Namibia, this is on tape, I'll buy you an apple crumble at a crumble station. Last one, best bit of advice for anyone thinking about transitioning from, endurance, the traditional endurance, to these ultra endurance events. What would you say?
The best thing about these races is they're essentially glorified eating contests. Like, when else do you get to actually go out and do the running that you love, and also just eating all the time? That's basically what it comes down to. And you haven't got to be fast. It's one of the only few, from a science perspective, it's one of the only few events that actually where you see the gap between men and women almost reaches that inflection point. You don't need to be a great athlete, you just need to be mentally tough. So if you can stick it out, if you can deal with some pain, you'll be great.
Love that. Well, thanks so much for your time. can't wait to hear what happens next. Good luck, safe flight. Let's go smash it. And I'm looking forward to the pictures and hearing all about it. Cheers, Michael.
Thank you so much.